Welcome to our conference about self-awareness. Today we have the pleasure to be in Alexandra Thomet's practice. Thank you very much for having us here. Welcome. Alexandra Thomet is a medial life consultant, an energy therapist, and applies reflexology massage techniques in her practice as well. Exactly. To begin with, I like to ask the same question to all. What does self-awareness mean to you personally? To perceive the present moment. To be aware means to be mindful to me, to know oneself and perceive oneself. You somehow got on this path. How did that happen? What motivated you to take this path? My motivation, it's really more about vocation, about talent and capabilities, so to say. It is something I've been interested in for a very, very long time. I started getting into it at the age of 5 or 6. The question I was asking myself was, what is outside? What's the purpose of life? What purpose does life serve? By outside, you mean outside of yourself? I mean outside of our earthly reality, the other reality. You said before that you started to communicate with these other realities as a child. How was this encounter with the other reality? Would you like to describe it? My encounter was, I can recall it very, very well. We were moving out at the time, and I fell into a void. We could describe it as an infantile depression. And one night, I just wondered why. I was very sad and asked the creation, if it is real, if God exists, I want to know right away. And I found out. May I ask you, how did you experience this answer? Through an encounter with light, but a very different kind of light, and through a sensation of warmth throughout my body, and from that moment on, my state of awareness radically changed. So really early on, yes. How did your environment deal with this situation? You must have gone through big changes. My environment wasn't able to deal with me at all, what made me really sad and really lonely. My new awareness was leading me to the, let's say, other world where I was feeling very much accepted and at home. And you're still at home there. You're telling many stories about that world and what parties you celebrate, so to speak. A lot going on, which the average person is not able to see. And for you, it's just another part of reality. Yeah, exactly. For me, it's normal. I'm not trying to look away. I'm not trying to think my way out of it. It's impossible. I may close my eyes. It's useless. This encounter with light, how did it help you in your development? I mean, you're a medial consultant, you're working with these energies as well. It gave me the confidence. It gave me a confirmation of my very rich and varied inner world. You have a precious treasure inside of you, if I may say this. What profession did you learn? I mean, I have many things accompanying me. Have you learned a profession matching your vocation? Let's put it this way, I kind of refined my knowledge. Through a master, I obtained an energy healing certificate, just to kind of top it off. So you knew right from the start that it was going to be your job. You didn't feel the need for another mundane occupation. I tried to learn some professions. I've done different kinds of jobs to explore how human beings experience a kind of job rather than another one. ranging from factory work to being a secretary, from painter on construction sites to cleaning. And this kind of experience brought me to understand that all of this wasn't me, wasn't about me. You are yourself when you're working with energy. Exactly, that's what I am. Against all obstacles, against all judgments. A lot of people think that if you are in connection with angels or astral beings, that you would float 3 meters above the ground. How is your contact to the earth? Without the earth, you have no access to the heaven. It's impossible. It would be lifted off, disoriented, lost, and so on. Do you have an image of what earth means to you? I can define it through color. Red. Red is Mother Earth's color. Without this red light in our bodies, no Heavenly Father. Impossible. If you go out in nature, I assume that you'd be perceiving many things. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you experience? You're clairvoyant, and this aspect manifests in other senses too, smell and touch. I perceive the aura of the trees. I have the ability of communicating with animals, whose aura I also perceive. I talk to flowers. So for you, nature is very alive, rather than silent and calm. Exactly. Many say, I like nature because it's peaceful, it's quiet, and so on. That must be very different for you, right? I mean, I'm sure it can be relaxing too. It really depends on my mood. If I want to see or hear, or just enjoy the silence, I get to decide. If you are connected to the spiritual world as you are, does it become a part of you, or is it rather something separated from you? It is a part of me, definitely. Is it a part that you had to integrate? Yes. How did you manage to integrate it? Higher energy, it is something very powerful after all. It can bring about fears and second thoughts. I mean, usually in other people, I don't know about yourself. I have gone through a long and intense training, so to say, in order to experience these fears with all the consequences. So, listening to you, you speak a lot about exploring in depth. There is no point without it. Yeah, it's useless. So, it's about tidying your basement. I would say that's a euphemism. How would you express it then? To lay out what was hidden. What's the reason behind it? What's the gift when you reveal what's inside to the outside world, when you tidy up your inner world? It means to center yourself, to arrive, to feel at home. This is the present. To be yourself, to live yourself, and to discover and enjoy the beauty. What does it mean for you to bring out a shadow of yourself? A shadow to me is something actually really positive. So every shadow in myself also gives me the possibility to discover something and to reveal it. Absolutely. Or even just to accept it and live it. Very, very simple. You certainly do many things as a daily routine, that you are aware of what you're actually doing. Yeah, we could say that. I mean that day-to-day life is also part of the way. Everyday situations, we can mirror situations, they can show us things. Exactly. Situations can point out other things. I can pay attention and be mindful, or just let it be as it is, to simply accept it. How did you learn to accept things as they are? What do you suggest people to do for them to learn acceptance for themselves? I would start with building trust in yourself, work with affirmations, and to create a fundament, a basis. Without trust, there is no ground. Without ground, no heaven and no center. I would like to further discuss fear with you. Many people are not able to manage fear in the first place. It is like a big monster, a ghost to them, something which is not tangible. Do you have some techniques or some hints helping people to define fear and how you can make peace with it? To make peace with fear means to me primarily to accept it and to ask yourself why. And the bravest among us dive right into the fear and manage to overcome it in their actions. Others need therapy. We are extremely interconnected. We have innumerable bodies. And for me, it is being aware of the breath. I inhale trust, and I exhale and let go of fears. There are very many different ways. There is no recipe for it. For this person, this technique is suited. For another, something else feels right. What themes do people bring to you? Which themes suit your practice the best? All kinds of themes. We're talking about health, love, profession. Among these three themes, there is a very wide spectrum of possibilities. When someone comes to you, are you able to see if they are really willing to do the work on themselves, or do they expect you, since you see everything, you know everything, to fix them and to make them complete again? Both. I see when someone is ready or not, and I give just as much as the person can actually take and can be happy with, so he can accept it and deal with it, and I do not mention the rest. Which means that you don't speak of everything you perceive. That's right. Is it to protect yourself or just to protect the client? I do it to protect the client, without question. Every soul has its own timing and will be ready when the time is right. It has nothing to do with me, nor with his own ego. So you are kind of a guide. Yes. You could go this way or take this way. Exactly. This or this or this way, and you decide what you prefer. It can become very concrete as well. Yeah, but you leave the possibility of choice. Their free will, if we may put it that way. Their own will has the priority, absolutely. I don't step in. which is also impossible. I point out, or rather I confirm a feeling which is already there to begin with. If the client is insecure, I represent a sort of confirmation to them. So you would say something like, yeah, you're right, this is the way you feel. Exactly, considering the given problem. But from there, it gets very complex and diversified. So it is very important for the clients to know in advance that they are not going to get a prediction or anything of the sort. Let's say, is this the right person for me? Am I going to find my soulmate next month? I am not a fortune teller. I see very clearly in couples if they are right for each other. I'm able to perceive the themes that are expressed and make them visible to them. If I see they are partners in life, I do not mention it. I do not speak of it. Which means you are taking the present moment as a starting point for working with your clients. Do you sometimes take them back into past lives too? Hardly ever, because given the vibrations of our time, there is huge healing potential in the now. There are some souls that need to go back in order to heal, but most of the time it is possible to do it in the here and now. So everything that is now is enough to bring clarity to my situation. Absolutely. I don't need to know where the emotions come from. It is enough to realize they don't fit this situation, and I can let go of them. Well, if we carry unhealed wounds from the past, in our presence, in the present moment, we need to turn to healing. Whether difficulties lie in the family, in our profession, you name it, you have a good look at it, and at the same time you heal. But it is always about and in the present moment. It is fully about the present moment. Just before you spoke about the new energy of our time. How do you perceive it? Does it have a particular vibration to you? A particular feeling? Are the colors you see different than, say, 10 years ago? How do you perceive all of this? There is much new movement brought about by these new vibrations. Something new. I perceive the vibrations as faster and more dense. Also, the drive to get to a destination is more intense than 10 years ago. This is the way I see it. Also, color-wise, things changed. Sometimes, when I look at nature, I feel it became much more golden from my perspective. Much more than, say, 10, 15 or 20 years ago. There is something that allows us to see situations and life in a different way. Yeah, I can see and confirm what you say. What does it mean for the average person to look at life differently? I mean, for you, it's absolutely normal, but what is normal for me is very far from other people. It is something that is usually connected to faith and to belief. But faith is always within reach for me, all the time, just a step away from me. Faith is a very good starting point, but it's not enough. What is enough then? To know, to actually experience, to have the feeling of it. So the knowledge, the experience, the feeling, they all happen within the body. You work with the body in your day-to-day practice as a reflexology therapist, Do you work on the cellular level as well? Yes, I do. Would you like to tell us a little more about it? Well, I bring balance back into the cells, and consequently, I bring balance to the structure of the body. Do you consider these methods and the work you do on the body as means to an end? In other words, is it just some sort of energy healing technique, or is it part of that confirmation you offer the client? What role does this physical work play for you? Well, humans love to be touched. That's mainly why I do it. So, means to an end. Beautiful. Transmitting energy through physical contact is very pleasant because the body is able to perceive it. Yeah, it's very relaxing. Yeah, very relaxing too. I'd be curious about your work on the cells. Do you rotate them somehow, or do you give them new impulses so the body can learn new ways of gathering information? Well, it depends on the person, really, on the degree of soul maturity. Do you work with the DNA as well? Yeah. It's very exciting, isn't it? Yeah, to me it's just like that. Very, very simple. I believe people always need an explanation for everything. And for you, things are much more normal than for most of us. There's a big gap. So maybe some of the question can seem a little odd to you. Yeah, very odd. I asked you this because I meet many people that come to me with big question marks. They want to know what's happening at the cellular level, if they themselves can work on them and how. And if I were able to explain in a more precise way, maybe they would better understand and be more confident about it. My question is how to approach the situation in a way that the client may understand the energetic workings of his own body, since they do not have the wonderful knowledge that you happen to have. Exactly. It depends very much on where the person is standing right now. So maybe for one person, it is more about allowing the feelings to surface. For someone else, it might be to perceive their knowledge, and I just step in where it is needed. If someone comes to you with very little knowledge of the spiritual world, with no clue about transmitting energy or anything of the sort, but nevertheless, he's seeking this knowledge, what steps would you suggest this person to take? Maybe some books? Or just to go through personal experience? Personal experience. So to very simply feel what's happening right now. Exactly. And to focus on joy. Where is your joy going? And from there, really, nothing can go wrong. In your world, there is a lot of space. Space for joy, space for lightness, for laughter, for fun. What about pain? There doesn't seem to be much space for pain. Not as much as it seems to take in many people's lives, at least. I'm not saying that everything is easy for you, but you seem to deal with it in a whole different way when difficulties arise. Yeah, I learned to deal with pain differently. How do you look at things? How do you deal with all sorts of situations? I look at things with a wider perspective. If I don't understand something at a personal level, I try to see it from a bigger perspective, to gain the bigger picture, in order to comprehend its meaning, its purpose, and consequently to accept it as it is. And you do this with the help of your spiritual helpers. Yeah, that too. I suppose that your higher self, your inner source, your inner goddess, or whatever we may call them, they all became a unity. Yeah. So you somehow managed to get it down. Yeah, to get it down, or simply to embed it, to have it settled, integrated. How does it work to embed your higher self? Many people wish they were more connected with their higher self, but a fear of this power is always present. Exactly. It's the fear of oneself. Can you give us a little exercise? How can I get it down, embed it, integrate it? Through meditation. Through a very simple, ordinary meditation. Do you have a tiny little exercise for our viewers? So, to connect to Mother Earth and connect to the Heavenly Father, to send your breath very deep in your belly, to exhale, to feel yourself, and to be silent. To feel and to be silent. You would suggest this exercise even in a highly stressful event, right? Let's say something happens on the street and you get to choose between screaming and running away or just breathe, settle in the present moment, and relax. Exactly. And for me, it happens very quickly. In just a moment, I am able to center myself. I mean, through practice, you can become much faster. At first, yeah, in the beginning, it takes a little while. For beginners, I wouldn't suggest a classic lotus position and to be stuck there for 1 hour. To me, it's important to have an element of play, of joy, all while feeling yourself, maybe in bed at night, a short meditation before falling asleep, or on the way to work, to center yourself in this world of colors, and to follow the breath. You mentioned earlier Mother Earth and the Heavenly Father a few times. Have you integrated some shamanic techniques as well, or is it just part of your imagery? Mother Earth and Heavenly Father are terms coming from the shamanic world. Well, shamanism, you know, I'm not the kind of person to dance around a fire beating a drum, but I find it wonderful nonetheless. You don't have to run over a fire. No, you don't have to, but you can. Shamanism to me, if I look at it, it means accepting the earth as my home. I believe that, very simply put, when people go to the park to be in the presence of nature, we could say that's shamanism too. To live in the here and now, yes. To set the focus on abundance, so to say, and not on shortage. It's an inner choice we all have. The choice is about deciding to live here, to be in the present moment, to go forward and to invite things in your life that bring you joy. Absolutely, I believe joy is the key. Yeah, and fun. Absolutely, just playing really. Through play, I can try many new things to actually practice changes. Many people are afraid of change. What is your experience with bringing fun and playing on the journey? If someone comes to you and they're absolutely unhappy with everything in their life, their job sucks, their relationships are a disaster, and the kids are problematic, and so on and so forth. Well, what I do is I first observe their being and try to see their talent. I bring it up and I point it out to them. What it is, in a very playful way, and step by step I then explore their environment, maybe their children, and find some possible approaches for solving the issues. It's really a work of revealing step by step. Thanks to your gift, you can easily guide other people. It is really a big present to be connected to such a degree as you are. And if you have developed these abilities, or even if they were given to you, you use them for the benefit of society and of all human beings. Exactly. This gift is something that is not necessarily a result of training. Mediumship, is it something we can open up to? What you have, would you say, it's really special, isn't it? I would put it this way. Maybe in previous lifetimes I was paying more attention and then I awakened. Well, you know, when it comes to paperwork, I'm a total mess. So that sphere for me is absolutely unknown. Are you saying you're living in two worlds? Yeah, I am living in two worlds, and I integrate the subtle reality into the earthly reality, yeah. So you focus on what you can do best, and for the rest, you rely on other people. Of course, if it's not my field, it's not my field. It will never be, and I don't have to. And to accept this, that I don't have to do this, is very liberating. It also takes some time to realize and to admit, okay, it's not for me. This is not my world. Yeah, to accept it and to make peace with it. It is extremely relieving to know I do not have to do this. And there are some geniuses out there in bureaucracy that are just great at what they do. I mean, computer scientists, wow, I admire them. Listening to you, I understand that every person has his own abilities talents, so to speak, and it is his job to stand up for them. Absolutely. And to use them for everybody's benefit. I believe that happens automatically. I think that's a point that is hard to understand for most people. Someone once said, "We are afraid of our inner light." To recognize our vocation and to do what's natural is a very hard step to take. Yeah, very much so. Many people are not ready yet. They are not at the point where they can open up to their own happiness. It seems just too much to take. It is very overwhelming. They don't know this feeling. They do not come from this feeling. It is also about opening up to your own talents, to look for them in your basement while tidying up. You don't just find crap you want to get rid of, you also run into precious treasures. Absolutely. And to bring these treasures to the surface is way more important, because they will form your future. They will help you build your future. They will give you joy and fun, and it will be challenging, like an exploration. That is also something I notice in you and your work, and it's very inspiring. I thought about it this morning. To gain the insight, I am here for this, and I am going to look for it. Exactly. And through this, I also gain self-awareness. Yeah. To be loyal to oneself and to remain loyal through time. Do you have a little sentence, a sort of motto, that can encourage people to not take things too seriously, to follow what brings them joy, like to believe in themselves? Less is more. To be simple. Less is more, to be simple. I think that's a perfect conclusion to our interview. It was a tremendous pleasure to have you here today, to experience your whole presence. Thank you very much for your openness, Alexandra Thomet. The pleasure was mine. Thank you very much. And would you please say a few words in your wonderful Bern dialect to our viewers, even if they won't understand the word? The dialect of Bern is a dialect very close to the heart. I wish you all the best. Thank you.